What's up, Newmans? Today I will be discussing something that is part of both our mind and spirit pillars, and that is the concept of our shadow. Now, I'm not talking about the shadows on this wall here behind me. Instead, the shadow that I will be discussing is rather an element that is found within all of us. A shadow that is internal and intrinsic. So what exactly is that, and its significance? The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung developed many archetypes over the years. According to Jung, an archetype is a universal motif or image built into all human beings. So our shadow, which is one of the archetypes that Jung coined, is universally within all of us. Our minds hold a vast collection of imagery and symbolism. Most of these images and symbols lie dormant in the dark confines of our shadow. So our shadow represents that aspect of our memory and personality that we disown, and therefore it often goes unnoticed in our subconscious. We cannot get rid of our inner shadow, much like how we cannot avoid casting an outer shadow when we're under the sunlight. And that can create problems for many of us because our shadow ultimately represents the collection of the weakest, most flawed, appalling, and evil parts of ourselves. It's everything we don't want to be, but fear that we are. It is a very dangerous place of storage, an unconscious area in our minds that is vigilantly guarded, more often than not, by our conscious ego. This dark side of our mind, however, is a crucial part of our journey towards enlightenment and self-love. That is, when we're aware of it and integrate it properly, and I'll get into that later. Now, it doesn't matter how wealthy, successful, beautiful, or famous we or the world perceive ourselves to be, as long as we are either unaware or ashamed of our own shadow and fear that people can see it, we will always be insecure about ourselves. And when we are insecure about ourselves, we put on a persona, ultimately lying to ourselves and the world. Basically, the shadow encompasses everything that the persona rejects. We all have some sort of dark side to ourselves, which needs to be integrated into our character and spirit. The less we integrate our shadow, the darker and denser it becomes. The paradoxical truth is that when we are made conscious of our shadow, when we accept it for what it is and give in to its imperfections, instead of trying to deny, hide, or even fight it, its nature changes. It transforms into a source of creativity and confidence. We as humans learn far more from our pain than we do from our triumphs. It is through our flaws, failures, and shortcomings, rather than our strengths, that we learn the most about ourselves. What we see in others and the world directly reflects what we have within ourselves. The German author Hermann Hesse wrote, "If you hate a person, you hate something in them that is part of yourself. What isn't part of ourselves doesn't disturb us." When we are quick to judge and condemn others, we are actually criticizing our own inner demons that we are either unaware of or unable to deal with ourselves. So, an effective way to develop and integrate our shadow would be to contemplate and consider any feelings of bitterness or resentment. Now, this is important because our resentment usually tells us more about ourselves than it does about other people. And it is a very tough task to admit to ourselves that we are capable of having such dark feelings. Our ego and fears, more often than not, get in our own way of admitting that we do have a darker side to ourselves. But it is only when we have the courage to acknowledge and accept the unpleasant revelation of the evils of our shadow and effectively implement it into our character and spirit, we can then further the journey towards enlightenment and self-love. Real, genuine power and strength of the mind and spirit isn't the absence of dark and evil thoughts, capabilities, and qualities, but rather the awareness and control over them. A moral person is not harmless by any means. Instead, a moral person is someone who is capable of destruction or force. but chooses not to use it. If you want to read more about this topic, a proper source is Carl Jung's Collective Works, Volume 9, Archetypes of the Unconscious. Now, this text goes very deep into the concepts of the shadow and the persona, and I will reference it in the description of this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more future related content. I put out videos weekly. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave it in the comment section below or inbox me personally. You can also find links to my email, Instagram, and Facebook in the About section of this channel. And as always, thanks for watching, humans. I'll see you in the next one.